What if Dandy's World was originally supposed to be a completely different game from the one we know today? Not just a different mechanic or character design, but a story-driven horror game where players explored Gardenview, solved mysteries, navigated mazes, found messages asking for help, and discovered what happened to the abandoned location. And the strangest part is that old footage and images circulating in the community appear to support some of these ideas. However, there's one major problem. There's no solid confirmation that all of this material is actually official. So today, we're going to separate what we know from what's still unconfirmed and look at why these supposed early concepts could reveal a much darker version of Dandy's World. Before Dandy's World was released, footage already existed showing a very different version of the project. One old recording features a hallway connected to Gardenview that doesn't exist in the current game. At the end, we also see a much creepier version of Dandy, with a different model and noticeably different eyes. That alone tells us something important. Dandy's World went through major changes during development, but things get even more interesting with the images currently circulating. Some are supposedly from old files or pre-alpha builds. While some people believe they're legitimate, others question where they actually came from. So we shouldn't treat them as confirmed evidence. Instead, let's look at what they supposedly show. One image appears to show an older version of Dandy, with a smaller model and several visual differences. That wouldn't necessarily be unusual during development. Character models are constantly changed and tested. What makes this interesting is what these images supposedly reveal about the original concept for the game. According to the material circulating in the community, Dandy's World may have originally been designed as a story-driven experience, with players taking on the role of a toon handler. Instead of entering matches like we do today, imagine arriving at an abandoned Gardenview with one goal: discovering what happened. You would explore rooms, find objects, unlock paths, and investigate different areas. The deeper you went, the more you would realize that something was seriously wrong. Some of the supposed material mentions a chase involving Pebble, a maze leading toward an area connected to the museum, messages asking for help, and even a radio associated with a code. None of this is confirmed, but the concept sounds much closer to a traditional horror adventure than the Dandy's World we play today. Gardenview itself also appears very different in some of these images. Instead of focusing mainly on the colorful environments we know, certain areas seem designed specifically for exploration, with hallways, rooms, scattered objects, and paths connecting different sections. This could suggest that the developers were still experimenting with what kind of game Dandy's World would become. And then there's the possible connection to Flower Frenzy. Some footage discussed alongside these materials appears to show the player entering an underground area, traveling through caves, and eventually reaching environments that seem connected to Gardenview. There's supposedly an elevator or passage requiring a code, followed by a ventilation area and more underground sections. Eventually, the architecture starts to look surprisingly similar to the visual style associated with Dandy's World. If the material is legitimate, that raises an interesting possibility. Maybe these two projects were originally planned to be more connected than we realized. We can't say that was actually the developer's intention, but the similarities are certainly interesting. The exploration eventually leads to what appears to be a train station, seemingly designed as a way to reach another location. In a story-driven game, something like this could have been used to create a much larger connected world around Gardenview. And then comes one of the strangest details. The player apparently encounters a character from another project who is trapped in the area and explains that they were left behind. Then the character disappears. Imagine finding something like that while exploring Gardenview. You're already trying to understand what happened, and suddenly you encounter someone who seems completely out of place, tells you they were forgotten, and then vanishes. That would be a very different experience from the game we have today. And when you put all these supposed elements together, it starts to look like more than a few scrapped levels. It suggests that the overall structure of Dandy's World may have once been very different. The maps weren't. The only things that supposedly changed, images, claiming to show older versions of the Twisteds, have also been circulating. Some characters appear to have completely different expressions. Astro, for example, looks much more aggressive, while Goob supposedly had a very different face. But a different expression doesn't automatically prove that we're looking at an official discarded version. It could have been a test model, concept art, an experiment, or even something made by the community. One particularly strange image shows a combination of the head of one Twisted with the body of another character. The result is so bizarre that it quickly became a meme among people who saw it. Then there are the supposed discarded Toons. One design appears to be a character inside a box, almost like a Jack-in-the-Box. The concept is simple: a Toon hidden inside a box, potentially creating a very recognizable design. It also raises an interesting question about how a character like that could have worked as a Twisted. Imagine finding an ordinary box during a run, interacting with it, and suddenly having the character pop out. It sounds like the kind of surprise that could fit Dandy's World perfectly. But again, there's no confirmation that this design was actually part of the official development. Another supposed early design has been associated with Flutter. Although it looks very different from the character we know today, the design is much simpler and doesn't immediately resemble Flutter's current moth-like identity. There's also a supposed scene involving characters playing a card game. According to the information accompanying the image, a possible toon connected to this concept may have been planned around an extra life mechanic with some kind of disadvantage attached to it. Once again, none of this is confirmed. And that's the most important thing to keep in mind throughout this entire story. It's very easy to find an old image, label it Dandy's World Beta, and present it as proof of a secret version of the game. But game development is much more complicated than that. Developers create prototypes, test models, experimental assets, scrapped concepts, internal builds, and ideas that never make it into the final product. So we can't look at one image and automatically claim it was officially part of Dandy's World. What we can say with much more confidence is that Dandy's World changed significantly during development. We already have older footage showing different characters and environments, proving that the project didn't always look exactly like it does today. So it's completely possible that other concepts were also abandoned along the way. What remains uncertain is which of these circulating images actually came from development, and which may have another origin. And honestly, the most interesting part isn't even the strange toon designs or the old twisted faces. It's the possibility that Dandy's World was once being built as a story-driven horror game. Because when you put that idea together with the older environments, it creates a completely different picture. An abandoned Gardenview, a character investigating what happened, mazes, messages asking for help underground, passages, train stations, objects that need to be found, doors that need to be opened, and somewhere in the darkness, the Twisteds. Imagine experiencing that without knowing what was waiting for you. You enter an empty room. You find an object. You continue deeper into the building. The lights begin flickering. You hear something moving somewhere nearby. There's no short match to complete. You're inside a story, and your goal is to discover what happened that would practically be a completely different Dandy's World. And that's what makes these supposed early concepts so fascinating. Not because we can say this was definitely the original plan. We can't. But because they show how many different directions the game could have taken before becoming what players know today. Dandy may have had a completely different model. Gardenview may have been designed around deeper exploration. The Twisteds may have gone through major redesigns. Entire characters may have been abandoned. And the game itself may have once been structured around a completely different experience. So now I want to know what you think. If Dandy's World had been released as a story-driven horror game where you explored Gardenview, investigated its mysteries, and encountered the Twisteds throughout a campaign, would you have preferred it? Or do you think Dandy's World is better as the game we have today? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more videos exploring the strange and unconfirmed ideas surrounding Dandy's World's development, make sure to subscribe.